under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. See you crowd again. Call the meeting to order. Anything to amend the budget or the agenda? Nothing. Okay. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approve the minutes of July 15th.
Looks of them are correct from last meeting, move motion to approve.
Second.
You did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Approve the claim.
Well, I looked through claims and, drainage was $91,017.61.
It said then.
And, on the general,
Somebody won't look up.
we had 1,654,826.69. A lot of, but that's all concrete for the paving project.
Like a million or 1.1 of it.
Yeah, yeah. I did have one question on claims, was our membership dues to Midas. We've been waiting for 2 years for this comprehensive plan, and maybe we should withhold our membership dues until they deliver on what we've been
I'm good with that.
I do.
asking them to.
Maybe we can get a
Maybe get them,
fire under there.
yeah, light them up a little bit. Seems like money talks. I don't know, it's just a thought. It's $11,000.
That's for the year. They do it by the quarter. They usually bill by the quarter, so. Whatever you wanna do.
I'm good with that. Maybe we can get them to
I
start.
at least visit with them about it and see what,
I think if we don't send it to them and tell them we're not gonna send it till they come and talk to us or
Yeah.
something, and explain why it's taken 2 years to get this thing
Yeah.
done.
I would second that, not to pay Midas.
Okay. Other than
I'll
that,
hold it.
so the claims
Yeah,
would
hold
be
it, yeah.
that number minus the minus.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Motion on the claim. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried. Okay, general public concern. Anybody here want to speak?
I would like to speak. So. People in the land subdivision have been receiving letters, a copy of Kent's. I haven't gotten a letter, but I do feel like a messenger message from Cole, and he's planning to blast on Thursday. He's saying that it basically says, I'm letting you know that the people to inspect the homes will be here on Wednesday. If you'd like that done, let me know by Monday. So I guess what we would like is that the injunction be reinstated, because he's saying that he's gonna do it, so shouldn't we stop him before he does?
He has no permits.
I know, so that's what, so he said that to me, and I said, how can you blast, you don't have a permit? And he said, I have everything I need. And I said, but you don't have a permit, and he said, do you want it or not? And I replied, and I said, we'll give you our response about getting an inspection when you provide a proof of a permit. And he just gave me one of these, because it was messenger. I haven't gotten the letter myself. Kent has
so several have in that area.
so, I mean, this is proof, it's from him, you know,
No, we have not received any paperwork from him about that.
but it doesn't make sense to me to wait until he does it. And then try to do something about it when we know he's gonna do it. I mean, he's threatening or saying that he's gonna do it, so when I can give you these copies, it's copies.
That's what my.
We're told we can't do anything until.
Yeah, I just called the county attorney when it was brought to my attention this morning, and he says you really can't do that until he breaks the zoning laws.
So I did talk to an attorney as well,
Okay.
and he said, you can get that, and if they wanna get that injunction done, they can get it done. It just depends on if they wanna get it done.
Okay, I haven't talked with Stu.
No, he needs to be informed, if he doesn't already know.
He did say it would be quick. That would be a quick thing to have done on a Monday or a Thursday, he said, but it could be done. Which, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't?
Yeah, if you know what they're
why
gonna
do
do.
that? We know he's gonna, why wouldn't we wait for him to do it and then try to deal with all the stuff that comes after that?
Why is the county attorney saying you can't? What was his reason?
He didn't give me a reason. I just informed him of the information I got this morning. And asked him,
Can we ask him?
I don't know if he's here yet.
Wait, they call you back.
I called him this morning.
Will, Mr. Cochran be contacted directly from this board of supervisors?
I do believe we will call him.
Yeah,
Who will?
We will. I'll call him if no one else does.
Okay, let us know,
If
Mhm.
you think it's gonna have to be
because I don't think we can,
pushed.
Yeah,
To that.
I don't think we can rely on upstairs to get the word quick enough for, to do anywhere.
So,
And the other thing, if they're gonna do inspections, and say there's no way that they can do 119 homes in
No.
one day. There's no way.
And how would that work with all of our schedules? Do we have any rights to make that work with our schedules? Yeah. You know, that's
yeah, it's,
kind of unrealistic.
it is unrealistic.
We don't have to offer it to 119 homes. We don't have to offer anybody inspections. We are choosing to offer you inspections.
We need you to state your name.
It's Cole.
I know, but he needs to.
Cole, say who you are, please.
Okay. Well,
We're gonna have to start, somebody just has guests on there, we're gonna have to have them, that's most counties do, if they just, and like all of our public meetings, we have to announce who they are, if they don't have their name on there. So it's something we probably need to start doing, so we know who's on.
well, thank you for the information. And we'll pass it along immediately.
Thank you. And somehow we'll know what's gonna happen, so we know what we should be prepared for on Thursday.
We'll see if we can get you an answer.
pass it on.
I
to
also
their attorney.
received phone call this morning from another resident out there that was basically saying the same thing. They'd been contacted and he had take his wife somewhere, so wasn't able to be here, but everything you said was what he also replied, so we will do what we can do. And again, apologize for. Seems like our hands are tied too, so.
Pass it on to the attorneys and let them see what they can do.
So what can us, as citizens, what can we do then? Because it's in your guys' hands, then it's in his hands, but. Is he coming to work today? Does he have regular hours?
Who's he?
The stairs.
Making sure right now. His vehicle's here, so he's probably here in the building. It's on the third floor. I'd say go up and see him. Okay.
Okay, anybody else wanna come? Moving on, Scott, you're up.
All right, good morning.
Mine.
Passed out a kind of summary packet that we like to go through every year.
You can come up front so you can be on your mic and
Right.
people can hear you if they're listening.
Get a closer up picture of him too.
Okay, yeah, apologize that it's been a couple weeks later than normal, but ICAP's rating system went down the last, 2 weeks. I know Trish and I got some emails on that they had only gotten through about half of their counties and they had a glitch, so it put them behind, but nonetheless, we've got it in front of us, so I wanted to pass it along. I wanted to start out just summarizing with the good news. And then kind of tell the story behind the good news, that it's all not all good news, but the good news is that overall premium compared to last year is only a 1.6% change, which in this state of the industry, and that's what I wanted
That's hard to believe.
yeah, that's why I wanted to say, you'll see it in the details that
Can I
it's
get my
not
homeowners to like that?
I know, I was just, we
Well,
just got ours.
careful,
30%.
because when we look at it a little closer, Rick, you're probably gonna see that
Other things.
the
change.
shining star was work comp. That's really what saved us, okay? So every other line is up pretty considerably. Auto, property, liability, just like we've seen, just like the industry's been dealing with. But we'll talk a little bit more about the success in work comp when we get to that page. We'll just kind of start going through our packet here on the property side. Of course, nothing has really changed as far as the structure of that policy. It's on a blanket basis. We have 23 million, a little over $23 million of blanket. That property is up about 2.4, almost 2.45 million, mostly for inflationary protection purposes. I think the only structure we really added was the conservation building out there at Sheldon Park. Otherwise, everything else was just inflationary valued up.
What about when we add that building over there?
Right, yeah, that would be, now I guess that would be a conversation point too. I don't know if your builder is going to cover that while it's under construction. There's usually two trains of thoughts. We'll have to look at the contract. Is either the builder's responsible under a builder's risk type policy, or they make the owner responsible, which we would put it under our own builders risk. So we'll have to address
When that
that.
starts.
Yeah, when that
That's where we
starts, we'll
started. Let's
Yeah.
make sure we know that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
so
don't-
that'd be a question to ask, how the contract was written, either through your architect or, the builder himself or what. So,
okay.
Or whoever that guy was.
I know.
Or
we keep
engineer.
looking.
Or engineer. Which, it's both ways, very common. You can address it either, way. So that's, so for the, just in general inflationary, we're up about 2,445,000 there. Probably the biggest change outside of that on the property is on the deductible for wind and hail. That's kind of been over the handful of years, windstorm, hailstorms have been the demise of what put the insurance industry in what they're in, with constant storm damage and then the inflation on materials for rebuilding. So you'll note the top under the endorsement little section there's a 1% wind hail deductible that's been implemented by ICAP, and the industry's done this in a couple ways. A percentage deductible is becoming more common, or they just have a higher level deductible than just what our $1,000 all other peril. So our $1,000 deductible still applies for things like fire, theft, vandalism, lightning, those kind of things. It's going to be wind and hail that carries the 1%. Now, ICAP's doing this a little different. They're just saying it's only going to apply if it's determined to be a cat loss, a catastrophic loss by ISO, which is the Insurance Service Office.
So only for that.
Yeah, only for a cat loss. And the cat loss has some subjectivity to it. ISO is the Insurance Service Office's third-party national independent office that helps write forms for the industry and track that. Their general rule of thumb on a cat loss is an incident that does $25 million or greater in damage, and then affects multiple policyholders and multiple insurance companies. So that's where a little bit of the subjectivity comes in, is what does multiple actually mean, So if you have a big tornado that hits a rural cooperative on the edge of town, that might do $25 million worth of damage, but it's only one insured and one insurance company, they're probably not going to determine that to be a cat loss. So it's got to be a pretty widespread derecho type of thing, or just multiple day where there's 10 tornadoes in the area affecting different parties. So the way to combat that, so what that would mean is our biggest exposures from the county's perspective is this building here, and law enforcement center is probably second. So for instance, we have on our schedule, even though we have $23 million in our blanket bucket, how this works is they would look at our, statement of values, and we have the courthouse, a little over about $9,700,000 worth of coverage on the courthouse. So that would mean a $97,000 deductible if you apply the 1% to that. So if that widespread cat storm happens and if this is implemented, LEC would be about a 37,000 because we've got just shy of $4 million listed there. And then engineer's office, I think, would be third in line down there, but that's getting down to 1.7 or $17,000 deductible there. So the way to combat that is there are outside policies available called wind hail deductible buy down policies. You get them on the outside market, and and I could explore that if the group is interested. What we do is we pick a level that we are comfortable with, so say we want to buy this down to 25,000. So then that would mean we would have two buildings that we would ask for. We would ask for this building and then LEC to be bought down from 97,000 to 25, or 37 down to 25. And then in the event that it is determined a cat storm, then that lowers our deductible. We can pick whatever number we're comfortable with. If it's 10,000, if it's 25,000, obviously the lower you buy it down, the more expensive it is. We can look at those quotes. I know just because I work with the agent pretty closely over there in our county next door to the east. They elected to not explore deductible buy downs, but they also didn't have the luxury of what we're faced with. They had a much larger overall increase because they're kind of wasn't able to provide some offset. So that's up to you. I'd be, happy to explore it to see, bring back some levels if you're interested in looking at it, and we can look at 10, we can look at 25 or whatever you guys feel comfortable with, or if you're just comfortable with, because the cat, would take a pretty significant storm. So yeah, to be labeled a cat for our area. But
we aren't gonna be out anything if we at least look at it,
Right.
and say what's 10 and what's 25.
mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
find
you
out what the
can
cost is.
see what the cost is going to be, for those. And then obviously, depending, the 10 will probably pull in a few more buildings than a 25 would. Like I said, if it's 25, it's really only gonna be LEC in here. Where it's 10, you probably have engineer's office, LEC here, and possibly one other one, but we'll look at that. So I'll look at those two levels, and I'll be able to come back. Should be able to get that with, if it's not next Monday, it'll be the following, so should be a pretty quick turnaround there. Okay?
So if it's just wind hail, I'm sorry,
Mhm.
would that be a tornado then?
Right, yeah, tornado would fall in the wind category. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so any kind of convective. The buzzword that the industry uses for these is severe convective storms. So anything severe convective that would produce hail or tornado or even straight line wind, that's all gonna be into this wind hail category. Yep. And so even if it is a wind hail event, so let's just say it's a hailstorm that comes through Humboldt like it did, a handful of years ago. Nothing else is really affected. It's not gonna be determined a cat. It's just $1,000 deductible and we move on just like that. So it's just gonna be in these large storm situations.
So would we have the ability to, I'm just using Greenfield as an example. What percentage of their area was destroyed? Was their courthouse destroyed? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was, but I've, the number that came out of Greenfield is 46 million or whatever.
Right.
So there, yeah, I mean, it would take, if you had a direct hit tornado, you're probably dealing with, a cat event, because you're probably gonna hit all the
Right.
things. You're gonna have over 25 million, you're gonna have multiple people involved and multiple insurance companies involved. So, yeah. But I don't know if the courthouse was affected there or not.
I don't believe it was.
Yeah, I know there was, obviously several homes. One insurance company that we partnered with the same down there, they said they alone had 25 houses that were total.
So that's.
We have a lot of issues with the courthouse, but I don't think that's the way we wanna.
We're actually kind of getting a lot of things fixed here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I will bring back some of that information and we'll review that later. The next policy page is the crime page. That hasn't changed. It's our employee dishonesty, $200,000, money and securities at 10. So if there's cash involved any way, shape or form. We do have separate bonds on our elected officials that meet state requirements. Treasurer has her own, and then we have several other position bonds, including supervisors that are bonded to meet statute there. General liability, this level is unchanged. It's still, we have a $2 million occurrence level with a $2 million aggregate. For any occurrence, some of the things at the bottom of that coverage list that are specialty outside of our general liability. So our general liability would be things, property damage and bodily injury. Those are the two big triggers on a general liability, but this policy also brings in employment practices, public officials liability, law enforcement liability, and those would carry a deductible. The other, when we have somebody that just does property damage, we run or backhoe or something like that, that's not on an auto schedule, it'd be on an equipment list and into somebody's car that does property damage, there's no deductible, that pays first dollar. And then these are just some classifications. This is all just rated. We put together a schedule each year of liability exposures, and then they rate for those as a part of our overall bill. Next page is our auto schedule, and I'll be sending out these equipment list and schedules to all the different departments. Dean, Ben, Todd, they'll review and make sure we,
Everything.
everything that we need covered. ID cards will be handed out as well, and that's another cross check to make sure we have all of our vehicles. If there's extra ID card, then we forgot to delete something. If we're missing one, we got to add something. So a couple cross checks that we'll do. Otherwise, we have a $2 million liability. And our uninsured motorists here, comprehensive and collision deductibles are $250, $500. Kind of on the low end at this stage of the game, but ICAP really does not incentivize, which is hard to believe, increasing that. For the last 2 years, we've looked at increasing our collision deductible up to 1,000. And the savings doesn't even pay for one collision accident. It's less than,
I think I asked you that
Yeah.
before.
the savings was less than $500. Yeah, so it's
Might as well just leave it where it
right.
is.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't incentivize higher deductibles, but
So we take into account the increase in the equipment costs every year.
yes, there are certain things. Vehicles are not on a replacement basis, but a lot of the equipment, motor graders and backhoes and things, ICAP does provide a replacement cost value to those, so those do increase up. Some of the, I guess, some autos that we did add, that I had noted, we have a 2024 Silverado, 2024 Mack dump truck, 2020 Towmaster trailer. Those are all things that went on the auto schedule. There's a lot of other things that go on the equipment schedule that's not necessarily licensed for the road there for that. Which is the next page is our equipment. So overall, this equipment value schedule did increase by $1,292,000. Partly because we've added new pieces of equipment, and the other piece of that is they do revalue for inflationary purposes. Some of the lists that they do provide replacement cost values. Some of the notable equipment, we have a 2022 John Deere 5100 tractor for $152,000 was added. Had a motor grader for $397, excavator for $272. So there's some pretty significant purchases between conservation and secondary roads there. But then the rest of it is just inflationary pieces on the schedule. And so you can see the blanket value in the middle right hand of the page. We now sit at about $6,235,000 for our equipment schedule. And communication equipment, which is our communications tower that's kind of tied to LEC there. That got inflated up to $898 now for that Motorola equipment that we have there. Deductible $1,000 piece here. The wind hail doesn't apply to this section. That's only on their property section. And we do have some leased rented equipment for 50,000 built in. If we do need to rent a piece of equipment that would be more than that, we can certainly put a temporary request in to have that bumped up.
Okay, yeah. Clarify one. You mentioned the tower down there. That's not part of the building. That's called equipment.
Yeah, it's under the
Okay.
EDP.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify that.
Mhm. And then work comp, here. So the liability, employer's liability is $1 million. That's unchanged. That really only is in play if there was any kind of third-party lawsuit. Any kind of medical and lost time is unlimited under a work comp policy. And the statute protects the county pretty well, or any employer, from the work comp standpoint, if they are using workers' compensation as their vehicle to compensate injured workers. It's pretty difficult for them to come around and make a suit against them. But if it was, that additional amount would have $1 million for us, plus our umbrella that goes over the top. But here's where we've made some big strides. And it's, testament to safety committee constantly meeting. I know that IMWCA had some representatives that helped get things rolling, and as it can be used as a resource. And it's really paid dividends here. So hats off to that process.
A
So-
lot of the credit goes to Ben. I want to make sure that everybody is aware of that, because he's really worked very hard with the safety committee and getting everything to go. So thank you.
Yeah, save some big money.
Yeah.
And so just some notable things here. One of the drivers of this, first and foremost, work comp mod factor, and that's just a formula that IMWCA has, looks at the last 5 rolling years. And it's data, most of the data is the oldest 3 out of the current 5. And mod factor last year, 1.17. Mod factor this year, 0.86. So pretty significant turnaround. We went from a 17% debit to a 14% credit. So pretty good swing there. And then one of the nice things that IMWCA does is, as your experience factor, mod factor declines, you become eligible for additional discounts. And so that's where we've also benefited from premium discount credits. Last year, we qualified for 16%. This year, we qualified for 32%. So we doubled that. And like I said, that kind of goes in tandem as your mod factor goes. Those additional credits sort of follow that. And then the good experience credit is the last one. Obviously, when you're above 1, you don't get anything. So last year, our good experience credit was 0. And the good experience credit is 14%. So it kind of mirrors your mod factor in that respect. So you can see the chart in the middle here, how our premium, if we just went off of the 1.0 state provided class code premiums, based on our payrolls, our premium was $93,883. Because we had a 0.86 experience mod, that credited $13,143. Our premium discounts of 32% knocked off another $25,800. So our discounted premium is knocked down to $54,903. You throw in the good experience credit for another $7,600. And the expense constant in our volunteers, non-statutory med only volunteer, you're all in at $47,477. So obviously a very nice change, yeah. I calculated it out, $54,597 overall compared to last year. Yep.
That's great.
So keep up the good work on that, and it's
Tell the
certainly,
employees, thank you, too,
Yeah.
because they're obviously paying attention.
Yes.
yeah, and I did pull a loss run for the current or just past fiscal year. We only had $3,200 worth of work comp claims for the prior 12
Awesome.
months. So I mean, we're keeping up, we shouldn't see anything but continued success there. With that, on the last page, we'll just do our current umbrella policy is $6 million. That's just the additional layer that goes over all of our other introductory policies. And then the bottom section just shows if you know, for each million, so if you wanted to take the 6 up to 7, if you wanted to take the 6 up to 8, 9, 10, the additional cost to add that extra $2 million worth of coverage over the top. So in a lot of sections, you're sitting at about 8 million. If you take this 2 million that it provides on the underlying and then add $6 million.
Did we just increase that much?
About 2 years
That's what I
ago.
was thinking, it was,
Mhm.
that's what I thought we increased it
Yep.
a couple years.
Yep.
ago.
You did. And then the summary premium on the backside. So, like I mentioned, you know, there's definitely rate involved in some of these other sections that are changed, but then there's also, we've increased exposure as well by adding vehicles, adding coverage for inflationary purposes on equipment and property. So, it is, you know, shared between those two functions, but our, you know, all other classes did see a rate increase. Obviously, the most significant, as far as change wise is in our equipment list, but we've also added some pretty good numbers to the equipment this year, though, this past year. And the property concern, even with the 1% wind hail thrown in, there was still some pretty good rate on property just to try to catch up with that. So otherwise, all in all, with the great success in work comp, it helped certainly temper things for this year.
But as we remember, a couple of years back, we had a good deal that was followed by, we stumbled a couple of times, and the
Yes.
next thing you know, the following year, we were
Yeah.
right back in the.
I think it was 3 years ago, we had about a $40,000 to $50,000 increase on the work comp side.
Yeah.
We just flip flopped exactly
Yeah.
what happened here. We were down in the 0.8s and we went up above 1 and everything else remained fairly flat, but we saw a pretty big increase there. So
It was just staying on top of it and
Yep,
making sure that we keep our safety committee keep going and
yes,
talking everything.
because that is one thing, you know, there's a lot of things with insurance that you can't control, Mother Nature and things like that, but hopefully a lot of working safely
Yeah.
and keeping that.
Things you
work
can't
comp-
control, do a good job.
Yeah, do a good job of what you can control, and that helps keep those things in.
Training
check,
is huge,
Yep.
just making sure we keep everybody trained up.
Otherwise, any other questions? I'll work on wind hail buy downs and I'll bring that information back and share that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we'll just have, I'll have Dave sign just a commitment to continue and we'll go on from there.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move to motion for Dave to sign that. I'll make that motion for Dave to sign the commitment.
I'll second. The insurance renewal.
Recommend.
Yep. And then Trish, I'll do that. I've got that spreadsheet ready to go that we do every year
Okay.
and you can pass that out to the departments and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds great, thank you.
I'll have it to you this morning when I get back. Today is the 22nd. 7:22.
Can't believe the ones on this one. That's not.
I was up here to review the information,
It is.
reviewed that, and everything looks good, and we aren't gonna add any additional,
Probably
umbrella.
normal weeks.
I know it. I know, I'm not even. Findings weren't that good. I got a few things.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
Appreciate it.
You bet.
Okay, moving on. Ben, you're up.
We need to vote on the side.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
Morning.
Yeah, a couple of pay vouchers
for the agenda, you've seen obviously the large one on the local side of things.
Yeah.
The good news is the percentage done is
Very
about
high.
paid, so
Yes.
Yeah, 95.
we're about through that, but
Yeah.
it's just a little.
Uh,
Large amount. On the STP project, that would be P66 from Highway 3 north to Hardy. The payment is $58,009.06. What that payment is basically the asphalt work that was completed. That's about 52,000, and then there was also a little bit more concrete, I believe, added to the quantity. But that's the 58,000 for the STP project. $91,115 on the farm to market project, which would be C26 into Renwick. That portion was also the asphalt. We also did removal of sidewalk PC, concrete, and the detectable warnings. There was originally, I believe, two sidewalks that we were instructed to replace inside city limits. We did end up switching that, and we did two additional ones as well. When we got in there and we started looking at the condition of the sidewalk itself, we removed a little bit more. So that's why those quantities that you'll see higher than 100%. On the local project, the small sum of almost 1.2 million is all PC. So we are done with the mainline pavement. That includes the asphalt in the town of Thor. All of the PC from Highway 3 south to the county line. What's remaining is granular shoulders on all of those. Reddings is the subcontractor responsible for doing the shoulder work for the 3 jobs. I'm hoping they show up this week, or they start mobilizing to show up this week. I know they got caught in the rain the same as the rest of us did. And they're a little behind. But they're a good company, so I know they do. Meanwhile, we've been talking with the Iowa DOT and the contractor about the ability to use millings for shouldering on the local project. They came back on Friday with a proposal to do 100% millings at a cost of $18.50 a ton versus the bid price of $26.90 a ton. Most of that $18.50 is Redding's cost to mobilize, bring in trucks, the lay down machine, the packer, and a blade behind it, and a broom. But it's a pretty significant drop. I mean, you're looking at about $8.50, $8.60 a ton. Times the 4,300 tons, which that total will probably end up being closer to 6,000, because we've got more than a 3-inch drop. There's a lot of, there's a lot of places it's 4 and 5 inches, so. Our shoulders were low before we started our paving project, is what that amounts to.
And you said the other was 26 what?
2690 was the original bid per ton. And their quote was 1850 to use 100% millings, so potential savings are anywhere from 30 to 50,000 by the time the job was done. if we elect to go with 100% millings. So I guess I'm here today to ask you guys' direction as far as the 100% millings on the local job. DOT has started using it on some of their shoulders. I've talked to Woodbury County, who's been using 100% millings on their local jobs as well. They've had good results. They predominantly do a blended mix, but they do have 100% milling on some of their locals. Ida County is another one that uses 100%, but I haven't gotten him to call me back yet.
What's
Yeah.
the availability for it? Do we have?
They've got a stockpile. I mean,
There's plenty to wait.
there's a stockpile at the elevator there in Thor. And they are looking for a place to utilize them.
As thick as that is, I could see you're gonna only run like 2 inches of it in one with a crowd. You're looking at.
We're looking at
5.
5 inches.
Yeah, I
for
would
a
think it's
majority
up
of
pretty
this.
good.
It should bond together well, hopefully. The question will be, if it settles, how workable is it?
Yeah,
You know,
then what do you do?
can we pull it back in the same way we have with our shoulder material?
Mhm.
So that's the unknown right now, but otherwise, I think it's a good product. We obviously know.
And that's a pretty decent shoulder there.
Yeah,
You know, it's
it's wide enough.
it's a wide shoulder already and it's,
Yeah, the only spot that it's narrow is just south of town, the east side,
Yeah, with the
where you got the
ditches.
dredge. No, I shot him a low price last week. Cause I think they came back at 20 and I said I was thinking 12. And they're like, yeah, we lose money at 14, so.
So what's your gut feeling? Saving money versus,
If this was a state funded job, I'd say just use regular rock, but it's a local project. These are local dollars that are realistically going in, going back into our pocket. I'm in favor of trying the millings.
so can we, I guess if we put the millings down and then in a year or two that we have to add, we're gonna have a hell of a time trying to incorporate those two together, aren't we? Or we just stay with millings for next.
Depends on how it,
Holds up.
how it holds up. If the millings are holding up and they stay workable, we've got that shoulder reclaimer, which is a set of 5 discs that should be able to break it up and pull it back in.
Right,
In the event that that doesn't work, we just go back to topping off with rock on top of that as it settles.
the only place I could see a problem is where we dug up them pipes south of Thor.
Okay,
You know, I could see that settling a little bit there on that east side. The rest of the shoulders, theirs are big wide shoulders or pretty shallow ditches.
yeah,
We're laying it in there 5 inches.
and we'll be back in that ditch redigging,
Yeah,
whenever that contractor comes back with his equipment.
I'm in favor of giving it a shot.
I think this is an applicable time to do what we talked about it. I've seen it like Ben's checked with other counties.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, pretty good success. I would make a motion to use it on a local project. If you need a motion, or just go with it.
Alright. I will notify the contractor that we'll go ahead and run with that.
Yep.
Beyond that, you'll see a few extra work orders coming up for these projects where we incorporated baskets into full depth. We did baskets at the west end of the farm to market job. We did it just south of Highway 3 on the local job where we ended up having to go full depth. And then down on the county line. So we'll have an extra work order for that. There'll be an extra work order for smoothness incentive for this job.
So they
And
get paid a little extra because
they'll
they
get
did
paid
a
a
nice job.
yeah, and I don't know if you've been on it or you've driven it.
I've driven it. The only thought what I notice is when you switch from the pavement to the asphalt in Thor,
Mhm,
it's a little rough there.
mhm.
It just
If you're
seems like,
driving north,
yeah,
yeah, if you're driving north and you go from the asphalt to the white top, there's a little bit of a ramp up.
Yeah.
Onto,
yeah.
yep.
What's the speed limit there when that happens?
That's probably 25.
Okay, so it isn't like, it's,
It's.
yeah, it's in town, but I just didn't know that it was a little hot, cause.
So what's the
5%.
basket?
What is, yeah, I'm sorry, what is a basket?
Mhm.
So if you've driven on the interstate, you see where it's got like a wire rack. And then dowel bars that run through it. It's more or less reinforcement. It's what holds the concrete together and ties it, so they mark where that's at, and that's where they saw their joint.
Oh, right.
So that if it breaks where there's reinforcement underneath it that
Um,
keeps it held together. It's a good question, sorry.
Well, I wasn't sure, so I thought it'd rather been done like.
Yeah,
Good
no,
I'm glad you did, cause I was kinda wondering too, but I thought, oh, you guys all know what it is. Thank you.
sorry, I
Didn't.
I didn't explain that one.
Might not have been right that one, unfortunately.
But those will be coming, and then we'll end up having to do an extra work order for our shoulder material. Because if it is 5 inches versus the 3 inches that we bid out, it'll end up being a higher dollar amount. So the DOT makes us do an extra work order for that.
So what do you, time frame if they show up this week? Can you do it in a week?
If they send enough trucks, you can. Otherwise, my guess is it's probably about 2 weeks.
2 week deal? I know I didn't see you, but I've seen some vehicles out there and there's fairly
It's a
decent
drop
drop
off.
off, so if you are on it,
Yeah, be
just be
careful.
damn careful, cause we don't
Yeah.
want somebody to fall off that and tear their.
So I got the
That'd be
road
the
closed.
That's why we left all the signs
Yep.
up, so it's still road closed to through traffic.
Yes.
So,
But they are out investigating it, and
No, they wouldn't do that.
yeah, they are, I've seen them, I wanted to go play too, but it does look nice.
you should
so.
drive it. If you have.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah, you can really go fast. Just kidding, Dean.
So everything else is in order other than a few, additions that we might
There'll
do
be,
for
yep,
that,
there'll be some
so
extra work orders.
I'd make a motion to accept the vouchers. Can I do them separate or you want them together, all three?
You can do them all together.
I'll do all three then for, like, Kroll is the big winner today.
Yep.
I'll second Bruce's motion for the payment vouchers. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, then we need to vote on the.
I've never spent $1 million to.
You didn't vote on one?
We didn't vote on the, you guys. Oh, on the
On
stuff on the
using
millings, but we didn't.
Millings.
That's right, Eric had a motion,
Yeah.
I seconded.
Yeah,
The
oh, we
mill.
need to vote on that, yeah.
You had a motion and tied it. Okay,
Okay.
all in favor of using the milling? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Striping for that project should be Wednesday or Thursday this week. So we got an email this morning from Vogel Traffic Services that they will be passing through towards the latter part of this week, and they'll do the construction striping on this job, so
You're not gonna do that striping, are you?
no.
Good, because it'd be
Cause
pretty much gone by the time.
they tear it up by the time they put shoulder material down. But yeah, beyond that. Just wanted to let everybody know that there is 1 week left for dropping off or picking up sandbags at the end of.
Is anybody made it to the top of the hill to look and see how far you can see? That's
No, nobody's climbed up to the top of the hill yet.
It's getting up there.
It is. We had quite a few more dropped off over the weekend. I guess I just wanted to put a plug out there that we'll leave the pile sit for 1 more week and then it'll disappear.
If you're hankering for filling your kid's sandbox, come.
There's
Grab
been
some
quite a few
bag.
people that have backed up and loaded the back of the truck up, and we've gotten phone calls from people that wanna level off a swimming pool pad or,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
so,
City did offer to help us haul them away.
Yep.
So that was nice of
so
them.
we'll take advantage of that when the time comes, we'll get ahold of the city and get their trucks there.
But my kids weren't comfortable with the same reason.
But you could fill your trunk, take them down.
go. Yeah. When are you visiting next?
I'm not just, I'm leaving Thursday. Thursday night. Yeah.
Beyond that, we started building on the building pad out here. I gotta get out there and get some elevation shots. See where we're sitting and possibly get a hold of sands and get some more clay. So I think the west end is a little low from the looks of things, but that's just me eyeballing it. So,
Where are you at with your interviews? Are you started or you? Still
today
looking?
I've sat down, put together my list. Dave has put his list together. The two foremen have looked at them. We'll start making phone calls hopefully this week and,
Things settle down well?
yeah,
No,
Right. Try and squeeze in a few interviews this week. I will be out next week, so.
perfect.
Anything else for Ben? Nothing else?
Nope.
Thank you, Ben.
All right, thank you.
You'll stick around a little bit.
Yep.
Okay. On down. Accept the resignation of zoning administrator Randy Crecklaw effective immediately. I have his letter of recommendation here. I passed it around.
Well, with Brett, I'll make that motion to accept his rent.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, scary. With regret, but wish him best in his new endeavors.
And appreciate.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
appreciate all
Did a
we've
good
done
job.
for us. Accept and place on file the Humboldt County Sanitary Landfill Commission financial report.
Okay. Keith Anderson puts this together for us. Couple of items in here that were, our engineering and testing fees will be going down a lot now that we have that environmental covenant. Repairs and maintenance, that was mainly the expense of putting in a fence around the, current pile that is now separated from the egg land. So that number will be greatly reduced, probably about the only thing we'll be doing is spraying for brush out there and stuff occasionally.
Did they complete the closures?
Yes.
They did.
Oh, you mean the ag wall closures? No, you're right, Ben, that'll still be coming, and that was,
I think they had till the end of the year.
they do, they have till just about December something.
They aren't egg wells, they're just
They're
testing.
just testing wells, they're various depths and size.
We don't need any more egg wells. Yes, you do.
Sorry,
I
no,
was
they're
gonna
not.
say,
egg
we got
wells.
all those, we're working on closing on the other side.
They'll, pump them full of bentonite and, take the steel casting off. I can't remember what that bid was, but it wasn't that high.
It wasn't terrible.
No. Can't remember, it's around 5,000 or 2,700, can't remember now. But it was a good quote, so. Everything looks good on this, we'll get it approved.
Second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, carried. Approved quote from B and W Control Specialist for Drainage District Brush Control, 2025.
This is something pretty clearly stated, from Nate Reefer, B&W Control. Because as with, brush control and the drainage ditches, possibly it will be in this new fiscal year. sometimes they do work in the fall, sometimes in the spring, but he would just like this approved, stamped approved sign sent back to him, and he will, this is a stated quote for the approximate third of the ditches for this next fiscal year.
How much did it go up from last year? Pretty much the same.
It's not an apples to apples because of the different, he quotes it as kind of its approximate thirds. So a third each year, it's a 3-year rotation. So that I couldn't say, but this is stated, and usually this is at the higher side and typically do not exceed the quote, so. I would make a motion that we approve this, so it's on record that they do start yet this fiscal year.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
See what that.
You get a- you just use something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on down. Committee reports. Eric?
Looks like this past week, there was no official extracurricular meetings. So, nothing on that.
Okay, on Wednesday, I had the IDDA meeting up in Emmitsburg. We voted to keep John Colbert on and give him a 1.5% raise. There wasn't much else other than that we talked about that was too concerning. The drainage. What's the tag they use now? We used to call them clerks.
Yeah.
They met on Thursday, I believe, of this week. Did anyone from our office go down? Okay, it was down in Fort Dodge, right? So they had that, and I guess, last year we invited anybody who wanted to come, could come. And this year we limited it to just members who pay dues. Because we thought, these members are paying dues. And it was kind of conflicted whether we should share all this information that we provide to people who don't pay dues.
Fair.
And we had some counties who were there last year said, hey, can we still come?
Join.
Pay your dues. Come
Join the
on.
group and we
Yeah.
can help you out with all this. So as of right now, that's how they kept it, just the paying members were invited.
I would agree.
Yeah, I
I
would
mean,
too.
I mean, we gave
Why
it
would
the
we-
option last year to show them what they were missing
Missing
out
out
on.
on,
Right.
it's fine.
And we told them, go to your board of supervisors and
Same way with ISAC, there's so many good things for it. You gotta pay the dues to. There you go.
not everything in life is free,
That's right.
so. Oh, and at Humboldt County Housing on Wednesday afternoon. And gave the okay to proceed with a duplex being built out on West River Drive.
West River Drive, yep.
Yeah. So,
Where at on this?
Lots,
lot 71,
71, we looked at 2 lots out there. 71, I think it was.
yeah, I think it's 71, it's on the corner. Where you turn to go back to his apartments. So. Pretty close, some garden.
No, I saw somebody out there, I was wondering, didn't want to stop, snoop, so. Should it?
That's it for me.
Alright, Tuesday I had, Udmo finance meeting, we don't meet this month, so just did the financials and. Things are. Getting better, as far as their finances. They. Had some mandatory days off and it's helped with their numbers, so.
But it's also hurting with employee retention though, too.
Well. You either gotta have the door open less or,
Right. No, I get it. It's just, that's why we can't find anybody to
yep,
work in the Humboldt office.
well, they wanna,
And Heather is, I mean, she's helping out quite a bit. She's done a good job.
unfortunately, we. When you're comparing that job and something else and they're getting more hours, most people are gonna take the hours, so,
Yeah.
but that's all I had.
Okay, on the 16th Tuesday, I had in the morning opioid and alcohol coalition. Of course, we just found out the state rejected our plan on nitpicky stuff. I'm so tired of the nitpicky. But, I mean, it's just asinine stupidity, but that's my own thoughts. And then we also had a food pantry meeting, and that pretty much went talking about Edmo, trying to get somebody, we're down to 3 days a week and things like that, but it's working out. I mean, we're covering the number of people that we have, so there's a good thing with that. And then on
And we're
Thursday,
still, like you say, we're still not stealing, but we're borrowing someone's from one of the other counties that's coming to cover,
Yeah.
so. They're caught between a rock and a hard place, cause they have to cut hours on the other side
Yeah.
wherever they're leaving from, so.
Yeah.
Until we find that person that's interested in working,
so both areas are kind of hurting,
Yes.
but they are the good part of it is nobody is being hurt by.
Alyssa's
Everybody's
doing a
being
good
served.
job.
She is. Alyssa and Heather are doing a very good job. They're both doing coverage. Everybody's getting taken care of. And then on the 18th, I was down in Des Moines for I'm part of the ISAC Legislative Committee, which was very interesting. I found a few things. On Beacon, you can put on a pie chart for each property to see where the dollars go, like for school, college, hospital, all that. Webster County's doing it. I think that's something we need to look at to put on our Beacon. I think that'd be very good for people to look at their property and see where all the, even though it's on there, right, even though it's on the bottom of their sheet and they can see it all.
My chart's a lot easier.
It is, pie chart is a lot easier, and, so that was, but Webster County brought that up, they were doing that, but I did bring up, because he brought up UDMO. And I said, well, you guys don't even pay anything for UDMO, so.
way to get good graces with that.
Hey, Mark and I are buddies, you know? But I mean, but anyway, but yeah, so I think that might be something we wanna look into, Trish, to see if we can get that put on our. The other thing, and Dean, since you're here, we're still, one of the priorities is going to be, the Medicaid funding for prisoners in our, cause once they go in jail, that we lose the Medicaid funding, so then it goes on the county. And the county has to pay all of their, bills. Doctor, dentist.
Yeah, that doesn't. make
Medicaid,
sense.
it doesn't make sense, no. So that still is, and I think, trying to remember, I should have wrote a better note, but, it passed the House, but it didn't pass the Senate, wasn't that it?
I believe that's right, yes.
Yeah, so, and then the Senate didn't want, I'm like, but anyway, so we almost got it. But so it's still up there, it's a legislative objective, so we're still
That
working.
would save us a fair amount of money.
Oh, would, huge, because a lot of those medications are pretty pricey, and then if somebody has a toothache, guess who gets stuck with it when they're in jail? Even though they were previously on Medicaid, so it's a huge.
We try to take it out community health.
Do you? Okay, that's good. Okay, that would be a good savings,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
I mean, the only thing is it takes time out, the deputy takes down.
Well,
Offsets.
It's which one is the,
Dr. Harvey Evans here, when we used to take him out there, he said, well, there's only one way, you come out here, that thing's pretty.
There's no follow-up.
you wanna lose it too? Oh, my gosh. The other thing that was brought up again, and this was because it was brought up at at one of the ISAC legislative meetings was the open meetings and the recordings and things like that. And all we're gonna do is encourage people to do like what we do with Zoom and be able to, we're not gonna make that a priority or anything like that, because not every county has the capabilities, and if they're, or some of the poor counties can't afford to do the equipment, so we did take that off. So I think that was smart. Let's see here. Yeah, so that's about all that was, I think, real important to bring up at the meeting.
Just so you know, we get the same thing down at juvenile detention. If the kid goes down there and
Yes,
that has an issue with, say, an appendix or something like
Yeah.
that.
It comes back to the county.
Well, not always, because the counties sometimes don't. They want to argue about who the kid belongs to.
Yeah.
So when you take them,
Yeah, so there's always that confusion, where does he live and where was the crime committed, and
yeah,
right,
so there's issues that they argue with all the time. And well, he grew up in Humboldt, but he committed it in Webster County, and
yeah,
We have a good working relationship with Webster County, we also have who there is, and then if we have to take it to a doctor or something, then they pay that bill. So
oh,
we're good with that, there's a medication to it.
okay. Speaking of juvenile detention, that because there's so much infighting. That's just a little infighting, that's kind of, that objection is kind of put on hold, because until they can figure out internally what's going on, how do you
yeah,
legislate for?
throw something else in there.
Yes, so that's,
well,
Here's a good one, we had an incident years ago with, we had an intoxicated person in front of it's now the Humboldt Bolt or whatever it's called, Bolt Nutrition or whatever it's
oh,
called.
that's,
Yeah.
okay,
Guy fell down on the pavement, cracked his head open, the city officer went there and arrested him for public intox, while they took him off to the hospital. And of course, stitching him up, everything, brought him back, put him in jail, made sure everything's clear, medically cleared and everything before. And the bill came, and I said, well, this isn't our bill, this be the police department's bill for that guy's bill. Well,
Mhm.
they determined that since he was under arrest, that was technically in the custody of the county. And I said, no, I'm not paying that bill until they walk in the jail, then it becomes mine, but
Yeah.
I get stuck paying it, so. So they arrested him. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep, so, yeah, it's a messed up deal, so.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Exactly right.
that's all I had.
Okay. Wednesday, the 17th, I was at the housing meeting of the county. That was a long meeting. I planned on going to conservation, but I didn't make it over there, so. Then on Friday, I was up here, we interviewed for a part-time custodian. We got a couple more to interview, I guess. See where we're at on that. Sunday, the 21st, yesterday, I was out to the animal shelter fundraiser out to Sheldon Park. Lots of dogs, lots of kids. They had their foam machine out there, and I think every kid from about that high down was in that foam, just having a ball.
Mm.
Several dogs in there.
chasing the kids or.
Yeah, they was all having fun. I tell you.
Yeah, that was neat.
There was one little girl, she come out of it and she had foam piled on her head and all the way around it. They had a lot of fun out there, lots of dogs. Hopefully they raise some money.
Yep.
That's about all I had. I'd had a couple of calls from concerned citizens that and what the process of handling, so. I'll tell you that, that's it. You have anything? Nothing?
Make a motion to adjourn to our work session then, I guess.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 9:40.
You guys fired your.